Hello and welcome to the Modern Mystery School UK and EU podcast and YouTube channel. Today we are joined by the lovely Tanmaya. How are you, Tanmaya?
I'm really well, thank you. Thank you
Oh,
for having me.
oh yes. Well, we're very excited because we have been talking about lots of classes and lots of experiences, and today we're actually going to be talking about what it's like to be a ritual master in the lineage of King Solomon with the Modern Mystery School. And so I wanted to ask you, Tamaya, your background is corporate, also a holistic therapist. You deal with people with lots of trauma and things like that, so you've got this very background of the two polar opposites, I would say. How has being a ritual master enhanced your life, or has it at all? What have you found?
Yes, definitely, it has enhanced my life so much. I mean, I would say the main thing for me has been that I have become a lot clearer about how I kind of stand in my own way. Like it has really made me realize, the shadows within myself that and how to transmute them so that I actually can become a better version of myself. And I think it has really amplified that process so much for me. Um, and at the same time, it has given me the power to stand up for, you know, myself and then for others as well. When in situations where in the past I might have felt like, um, you know, too maybe scared or too intimidated by the environment, because Ritual Master has taught me so much about letting go of attachments. So I'm not scared of losing something. Therefore, I'm kind of happy to show who I am. And as a result, I can stand in my power in situations where in the past, potentially, I would not have, because I was compromised in a way, if you want, by my attachments, by how I wanted to be seen, how I wanted to be perceived, how I wanted to maybe safeguard a relationship. All those kind of dynamics led me to kind of compromise on my integrity, if you want. And as a ritual master, I feel like gradually, I was able to let go of these attachments and then become more in alignment with who I am in everything I do. Yeah.
Now, Tamaya, I hope you don't mind me asking this next question, because you weren't a mum when you became a ritual master. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And so what were your thoughts before that, running up to being a ritual master and the potential of being a parent? Because I know it's a question that lots of people ask, is it compatible? Am I going to be able to do all of these, things? Because lots of people have different concepts of what ritual master actually is. But could you give us a little bit of maybe background on that?
Yeah, let me think, because it's almost hard to remember exactly how things were before. It's almost like I forgot, like the beginning of that journey, because I'm so used to how things are now. For me, it was never kind of a question or a struggle, or I guess to some extent, I've always had that desire to live a slightly not too normal life. I
Mm.
kind of, so potentially, I think just living a very kind of mundane life with kind of just all those everyday tasks that we have to do as a mom, I don't think that would have suited me even before I was a ritual master. I think
Mm.
it probably is something to do with my personality or my kind of essence or whatever you want to call it. But so yeah, I actually found being a ritual master very invigorating as a mom as well, because it kind of gave me a different way of perceiving, you know, really everything, like starting from the birth to seeing my child grow up again without all those attachments that we kind of naturally would have had, with less attachment. I think that probably I would have had if I hadn't done this training. It was easier for me to learn how to let go when I needed to let go, because I think before I was a ritual master, I was very, very attached to people, to situations, and I felt almost like I could not live without those things.
Mm.
And I think it would have made me a very, very attached mom that potentially, I know we're talking today about attachment theory and how important it is to have a healthy relationship with our children, but sometimes as mothers we can almost sacrifice too much or forget too much about who we are. And I think I would definitely feel like that trap would have been there for me even more so if I hadn't been a ritual master, because it's still a challenge. Like, it's always a challenge as a mom, isn't it?
Yeah.
To manage that, like, how do I look after myself and another being? And they're just so wonderful that in a way you just want to give everything up to just do whatever they need, but that doesn't in the end work out very well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. And so also I'd like to ask, did you have any resistance in being to sign up for a ritual master at any point? And was it just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, this is something I'm gonna do, or was there any challenges you had to overcome, or?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I didn't necessarily have resistance to ritual master, but I wasn't attracted to it at all. It was like not something that I had on my radar of something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I definitely had resistance to the training with the Modern Mystery School up to that point. So I
Mm.
did not enjoy my Empower Thyself class at all. In fact, I felt very triggered during the class
Mm.
um, by what by the teacher at the time. But obviously, it's triggers that are within. And despite the fact that I hadn't liked the experience, I still went ahead and used the tools. And then I saw the benefits in my life from using the rituals, which kind of you know, uh, made me want to continue eventually. And then training as a life activation practitioner came as a desire to kind of add one more modality to the other modalities I had as a holistic practitioner. And when I started using the life activation on my clients, I just saw so much change in them. And because I had worked with them, up to then, so I knew how they had evolved with the other practices I had, and then how they were evolving after the life activation was significantly different. So my scientist mind was like saying, okay, this actually really works. And that's kind of what led, in a way, I got really excited about that. But I actually did Ritual Master very like a few days after Healers Academy. And it was during Healers Academy that I decided, oh, actually, I want to do this. And it was like a switch. Before I wasn't thinking about it. And then suddenly it was like something opened and it became my next step. And I believe inside of myself that this was like before that I wouldn't have been ready for that, because it is a choice and it is something that we, at some point that calling inside just comes. And yes, there can be resistance, but we kind of still feel that pull, and it wasn't there before, but then suddenly it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And I'm very interested to hear, how people's journeys to get to ritual master, because
Yeah.
I think it's different for everybody.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The point of these, podcasts and interviews is to, share that, all of these experiences
Yes. Yeah.
and what have you.
Yeah.
So being a ritual master now, as you are a busy mom, you are an entrepreneur, you're corporate, you're a healer, you've got all these different things going on. How would you say it aids in your, we talked about the attachments, but how does it aid in your day-to-day life? How is it helping you or supporting you?
I mean, it helps me all the time. I couldn't say a single situation where it doesn't help me, really. But most recently, I think I observed using my tools in an environment that was slightly new to me, in the sense that I've been working, in an environment where I work with people that invest in companies, and I have to discern really clearly, around the information that I'm getting, whether it's true or not, and whether it's accurate or not, and whether the people that I'm facing are being honest with me or not, because I do due diligences around investments, and that's been actually really interesting, because I don't think I would have had the same perspective before being a ritual master. I find that I arrive much quicker than many people at the core issue that needs to be checked, because I have a stronger connection with my intuition. But it doesn't mean that I disregard the facts, but it helps me to filter through the facts quicker because of the intuition. that tells me that something's wrong in that part, and then we can find out why and do something about it and develop a plan for that. So I would say that that's big. And then also in terms of managing my emotions, how I handle, what comes up for me in relationships with Leanne or with my daughter, or, in general in relationships, because that can be challenging. Sometimes you have situations with neighbors, with whatever happens, and then just knowing how to hold your cool and to be centered and balanced has such a big impact on everyone else around us. And so I love to see, that ripple effect of coming into a room and sensing that there's a tension there, and then using the energy to diffuse it so that everyone can be more at ease, for example. These are the kind of things that I find have started coming naturally to me after becoming a ritual master. Gradually, of course, it's a training. It's not something that started on day one. I think on day one, initially, it was all about learning how to deal with things coming up for me. Yeah.
Is there any advice for anybody out there that's thinking about potentially being a ritual master, or joining, or perhaps, has never heard the word, but all of a sudden is like, oh, what's this? Have you got any advice for them?
Well, if you feel a pull, if this is something that calls you, even if you don't know why, I would say go for it. There's something calling you. And I don't think anyone has ever looked back and thought like, oh, I didn't learn so much about myself and that was so valuable. So it's not an easy journey, of course, but it's so worthwhile. That's been my experience. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience. I know it was only very short today, but we very much appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I love talking about this. So,
And thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you all again soon.
Yeah, see you soon.